real estate, and other commercial and general subjects. My guests are specifically chosen by me to provide sharp thoughts and ideas on the various subjects affecting the economy in a unique and informative manner. I enjoy answering your calls, and you can reach me at 561-483-2334 or by email at bobseibel, B-O-B-S-E-I-B-E-L, at yahoo.com. Remember, knowledge is power. Dare to be great, because so few people make the effort. This has been Robert Seibel. I look forward to speaking to you again next week. Have a great week.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Robert A. Seibel. I'm an attorney practicing for over 30 years. The name of my show again, Ask Robert, the Financial Prophet. I intend to talk to you about Wall Street, about the market, which will be closing within the hour. I'll also be talking about subjects involving insurance, estate planning, financial planning, mortgage financing, law, various other areas of investing, and whatever else comes up in the form of your questions. I expect to have some very, very exciting and informative guests, and I hope to take a little bit of a different slant to presenting the financial news as you may be getting on various networks, television, and radio stations. I'm going to try to do some things a little bit different and certainly a lot more entertaining, all right? That's the kind of guy I am, okay? I'm originally from New York City. I still have a law firm up in New York. I practice law in New York and in Florida, and I'm very, very involved right now as an affiliate to a international mortgage financing company, commercial mortgage financing company that finances deals all over the world, very, very, very large deals, and we do them literally from the Far East to the Middle East and Europe, Central and South America, as well as the United States. I've had the privilege of being involved with my law firm for over 30 years, and we've handled all kinds of things. I've handled many, many celebrities and athletes, did a lot of tax planning in my career. I designed pension plans, various deferred compensation plans, money purchase plans, tax shelter programs, all designed to save people a lot of money from internal revenue. All right, now, again, the slant of my show is going to be Wall Street, business, finances, saving money, and investing, and doing anything we can to earn a little extra money, which we all want to do in this economy that we're in, especially with the challenging things that we're presented with today. Now, I want to also mention the fact that I intend 1 week, I'll be on just on Fridays every week from 3 to 4, as I am right now. We're on 740 AM, 96.9 and 103.9 FM, as well as on Facebook. You can dial in to the AMP2 TV Productions and then scroll to Ask Robert. That's on Facebook. I'll also be on Periscope, and I'll also be on YouTube in the off hours, in which case you will dial into AMP2 TV. And then again, scroll to Ask Robert. That you can recover the show at any time, day or night. And again, it's an hour show. We're going to be doing about a half an hour of discussion and interview with another half an hour of call-ins. The call-in number, you'll know right now, is 888-721-0074. Again, 888-721-0074. I look forward to taking your calls in the second half hour of the show. All right, now, let's move on. All right, initially, let's talk a little bit about Wall Street for what's happening today. The Dow is off right now, as of a few minutes ago, about 102 points. Very light volume today, relatively speaking. The S&P is down about 5. The NASDAQ was down about 23. Relatively quiet day. The bank stocks are down slightly. There isn't a whole lot of activity. Facebook is coming back a bit. It's up to 165. And PayPal is up to about 77.5. Both have been really, really great stocks in the past year. I saw Facebook We invested Facebook for some of our people way back when it was around 110, 115. So it's had a good move. Of course, the marijuana stocks have been exploding in the past year. One in particular, Canopy Growth, CANOPY, is probably the biggest marijuana producer in all of Canada. They produce about half of all the marijuana grown in Canada. And as you may or may not know, as of July 1, Canada will be the second country in the world to legalize recreational marijuana across the entire country, Uruguay being the first. And this is really a very, very significant move because Canada is now probably a year or two at least ahead of California and the other states in the United States, which have recently legalized recreational marijuana. California having just done so in January, and they're just ramping up now for production, whereas Canada's had a head start and has been in this business for quite a while, and hence Canopy about 18 months ago was trading like for a couple of dollars a share. It went up to about $4.50, $5 when I bought it, and now it went as high as $33 a share. It's back now down to about $23, so it's had an amazing move. Really, maybe not as outstanding and as outrageous as crypto, bitcoins, etc., but marijuana stocks are certainly at the forefront of stocks that are outperforming the market by hundreds of percent, and I believe very, very will continue to do so in the coming future, especially, like I say, when Canada legalizes on July 1. Eventually, I believe strongly that every state in the United States will legalize marijuana recreationally. It's not a social issue. It's not a moral issue. It's strictly revenue. Every state in the United States is bankrupt. They're broke. They need the money. They need the tax revenue. Years ago, when Colorado legalized marijuana, that state was broke also. They legalized marijuana. In the first year alone, my understanding is they derived over $100 million in tax revenue. The state of California this coming year will probably derive over $4 billion in tax revenues. This is an amazing amount of money, which people don't mind spending, and it's akin to when Prohibition was finally removed and the Volstead Act was defeated, and all of a sudden you had people going back and buying alcohol, and of course the revenues from alcohol were fantastic. Companies that were in that business early on made fortunes, absolute fortunes, as will the marijuana companies, and there are hundreds and hundreds of them. You just got to pick and choose the ones that are right. There are many, many penny stocks that are in marijuana now that are doubling, tripling, going up 1,000, 5,000%, but you got to be very, very careful. You got to be very, very selective. Now, along those lines, I want to tell you something. I subscribe to about, I'd say, a dozen, maybe more, financial newsletters. I get them online as well as hard copy, and I get them sent to me some weekly, some monthly, and I get them digitally online virtually every day, some of them. Now, I'm going to tell you some of the ones that I get, and you're free to do your research and homework to find out how to get them. I recommend all of them. They all have varying degrees of sophistication, but literally what I do is I like to read them and synthesize what they have to say and take the best from all of them, and I've done extremely, extremely well in investing with the recommendations made by some of these leading financial publications. One of the best ones of all is Motley Fool, okay? Motley Fool has been around a long time. These guys have an amazing, amazing track record. Pair of brothers, the Gardner boys, they manage to pick out winners where nobody even has heard of a stock. They pick out a stock 2 or 3 years in advance, and I'm telling you, their track record is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's not very costly. I think it's under $100 a year to subscribe. The next one that I recommend very, very highly is Paul Mampilli's Profit Unlimited. Profit Unlimited, okay? Paul is probably one of the biggest, or I should say one of the most successful analysts on all of Wall Street. Back in 2007, 2008, his firm, where everybody else was getting clobbered by the market, his firm's portfolio rose by 75%. The man is a genius. He's picked out such stocks recently as ST Microelectronics. He had that stock at 6 or 7. It's up at around 22 now. Microelectronics is at the forefront of the Internet of Things revolution, and that stock will continue to grow. Another one that he had was NVIDIA many months ago. that stock he had when it was, I guess, around 20s or 30s, 40s, that stock is over $200 a share now. He's had a number of other winners. On the back of his newsletter, he has a list of his portfolio. You can follow what he does. And again, I think Paul Mantilli is a genius, a genius. Another one that I think is also very, very good is something called the Bauman Letter. Okay, the Bauman Letter is similar to Paul Mantilli. He concentrates in some other areas, particularly he's very strong in real estate investing, and that's another letter that I would recommend highly. Another one that is very, very popular today is a letter called Strategic Investment. It's published, or the author, I should say, is James Dale Davidson. James Davidson's been in the Wall Street for about 40 years. He's also a legend in Wall Street, okay? And he writes a newsletter that, again, is one of the Bibles of Wall Street. His letters are filled with terrific ideas, and I recommend reading his newsletter as well. Again, if you get one or two, I don't believe it's adequate. I really think you should get 4 or 5 or 6 of these newsletters. Take the best out of each. There's overlap in each of them. And again, that's where, you get some comfort. But each one is going to have a little bit different a different spin on what they recommend, which direction. Some guys like the metals. Some guys like the Internet of Things. Some people want, only technology. Some people are looking towards retail, coming back of retail. Some people are looking at other types of investments. So all in all, I would recommend that you look into all of them. You can go online today. You can Google these various investment letters. There's another one called Jeff Yasteen's Total Wealth Insider. That's another one. I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but that's another one that's also here, titled 2 Retail Stocks About to Crush Wall Street. Here's another one that's published, and this is a one that comes out recently and entitled, it's published by an outfit called the Robinson, I believe, newsletter, and this talks about marijuana. It's an exclusive publication dealing with marijuana stocks, marijuana companies, marijuana distributors, medical marijuana companies. Medical marijuana, by the way, will do a lot to replace many of the medical companies that are out there. Big Pharma is deathly afraid of marijuana because many of the major pills that are recommended today, opioids and others that are being used for pain control, are going to be replaced by medical marijuana stocks, medical marijuana prescriptions, and medical marijuana pills, etc., because the effects are being shown already in laboratories and controlled experiments, and they're really remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And I predict that the marijuana explosion is going to take place initially in the medical area, and then, of course, recreationally, you're going to have literally tens of millions of users across the United States, just like what happened in alcohol. By the way, they predict that by the year 2050, the marijuana market in the United States financially is going to be larger than tobacco and alcohol combined. That's how incredibly large the marijuana industry is going to grow. Okay, there's another one called the Stansberry Research Letter. Now, Stansberry is probably the number one leading market newsletter, I believe, in the United States as far as the number of subscribers. I believe it's over 300,000 and maybe larger than that. They come out, they have a daily market newsletter. They also have 4 or 5 other letters. They have a Wealth Daily, the Daily News letter. Anyway, several other letters that they also publish in a family of financial newsletters. This is one of their writers, a guy named David Elfrig, Dr. David Elfrig, Income Intelligence. He also publishes his portfolio of investments. Another outstanding publication, outstanding digital letter, which I get every day and try to read. My morning reading, I usually get up at 6 a.m. I'm usually reading the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, sometimes with my old roots, little portions of the New York Post, usually just page 6 to read what's happening around the city. You never give up knowing about Manhattan, still the center of the universe. And I enjoy these publications. And, of course, I get into all these financial publications so that I have a good understanding of where the market's going for that day and for that week. Right now, we are in a very, very, very tricky time. The market's had an incredible bull run for the last 8 or 9 years, and everybody, of course, is sky high. Everybody has made a fortune of money in the last 8 or 9 years, and literally you could throw a dart at a dartboard and pick out a stock. You don't need a newsletter. You don't need a broker. You don't need a guru. Practically everything that you've invested in the last few years has gone up. I mean, literally everything. And the bull market, of course, has been fueled mostly by low interest rates. We're at an interest rate of virtually zero, so it is virtually, for major companies, costs them nothing to borrow money. Now, that has caused an artificial support of the market. What do I mean by that? Well, companies like Microsoft and Apple and other gigantic companies out there, Walmart, they're able to borrow money at virtually zero rate of interest, okay? That's not like you or me. We got to pay a little more than that, possibly a lot more, depending on your credit rating. But the prime companies, they're able to borrow money, literally billions of dollars at virtually no interest. So a company like Apple borrows billions of dollars, and what do they do with it? They turn around and they buy back their stock. And when they buy back their stock, that immediately increases the price of the stock. It also decreases the float, the number of shares that are outstanding on that stock. And by so doing, it elevates the share price of the stock. There's less shares outstanding, therefore the price per share goes higher and the price of the stock goes higher. Now, this is what's been happening for months and months and months, and people don't really necessarily realize it, but it's really been a hidden factor in the dramatic rise in the market over the last few years. Now, also, if you look at a study of the volume, you'll see that the general public's purchase of shares is not necessarily soaring. It's the activity amongst the institutions and the corporations, and particularly the big corporations that have been supporting these major stock trading. And of course, you have electronic trading today, which we didn't have in the old days. And of course, that increases volume markedly. Now, in addition to the interest rates, we have other factors that are at work. The dollar still remains, notwithstanding that we have tremendous problems with the deficit. Our deficit is no longer 20 trillion. It's probably more like 150 trillion or more, because counted in the deficit is not just the debt, but what about the money we owe on Social Security, on pension liabilities, unemployment insurance, welfare, Medicare, Medicaid, go on and on and on, okay? All these social programs which are unfunded right now, including, of course, Social Security being the biggest one. And, of course, we're running into more and more problems with Social Security. Social Security will be broke probably in another 10 to 15 years unless radical changes are made. So clearly, the market and the activity in the market is not necessarily a reflection of exactly the state of our economy. The state of our economy is probably a little more perilous. However, one of the other reasons that the market continues to remain strong is that the United States, in comparison to other countries, still remains a solid, stable, relatively stable government, okay? And it's a place where people like who live in Brazil or live in Russia or live in South America and other places in the world feel more comfortably taking their money and putting it into real estate and other investments in the United States, as opposed to leaving it in their own country, i.e. Brazil or Russia or some other countries where their own governments might end up confiscating their wealth. You know, Brazil had a terrible dip in their economy in the last few years. It's coming back now. Argentina, of course, got slammed very, very badly. And so these countries now have been supporting particularly the American real estate market. If you look in North Miami Beach, Sunny Isle, half of those high-rises down in Sunny Isle have been purchased by people from Russia and people from Brazil. And they're literally parking their money. They're not even moving into these apartments. They're buying them as safety deposit boxes to literally deposit their cash. A lot of them are buying these apartments for cash. They're not even taking mortgages and depositing their money into these apartments, believing that the apartments will go up in value and that they're safe and that they're parking their money. And it's a lot safer than keeping them in an apartment, a valuable apartment in South Florida, than keeping it in their own home countries in a bank account or in some other business which could go bust, or which could be confiscated, or or there could be a coup, or anything could happen in that particular country to upset their financial well-being. So that's what is happening, and that's another reason why there's been an influx, a tremendous influx of money into the economy of the United States, which supports the dollar and, of course, continues to support the stock market, because you've got a tremendous investment in the market as well, coming in from all sources. I don't have to tell you, it's in the news all the time. The Chinese have spent a fortune on real estate in the last few years. Billions and billions and billions of dollars have been spent on real estate here in the United States. The Waldorf Astoria was recently sold for just under $2 billion. Coincidentally, the company that bought it, which is Anbang, is under investigation now. There are other companies who become very controversial. I'm afraid to say that China may be the Japan of the 80s. If you remember, if you're old enough to remember, Japan was buying everything in sight back in the 80s, and then all of a sudden their economy collapsed, and they've never recovered. They've never recovered. It's over 25 years later. They still have not come back to where their market was over 20 years ago. Now, could it happen in China? Possibly. I don't think so, but it's possible. Anything is possible. We're in a crazy world now. Incidentally, if the dollar should suddenly stop being taken by the rest of the world in payment for goods and services, meaning if we can't buy oil and we can't buy goods and services all over the world with our dollars by running the printing presses, which is what quantitative easing is all about, then, in fact, we're in big trouble. Because if we can't run the presses to pay for these goods and services, we're in major league difficulty. All right? And especially if the other countries of the world, i.e. China, start cashing in their treasury bonds, then we're in further trouble. So literally, the market and our economy, we're on we're somewhat on a cliff. We could fall off that cliff, or we could just remain on the cliff and look down on everybody else and continue to thrive. It's very, very hard to predict. I know people that have been in the market for 30 years that have made fortunes that are bearish today. All right? And even though they say, well, 2 years ago, people, the market's got to, this bear market is going to be here tomorrow, or the bull market's got to end any day now. Well, okay, the bull market went from 1 year to 2 years to 5 years to 7 years, and now we're like in the 9th year already of a bull market. And the people are saying, well, could it go any longer? Well, it's possible. The market, the economy again versus the rest of the world still remains. But then again, you look at the fact that we're not making anything anymore. We've look at this tariff war that that Trump is proposing now. This could, in fact, cause some real problem. If we get into a real trade war with China, this could cause some severe problems in the international economy. Obviously, other countries are exempt, like Canada, South Korea, Mexico, but certainly if we get in a trade war with China, this could cause some major, major ripples in our economy, a balance of payments, and a shift in how we buy and sell goods to China and some of the rest of the world. Just putting tariffs on aluminum and steel also may have a profound effect on those products here in America. All right, so with all of that said, let's look at some of the other things that could affect the market. Right now, we've got problems in Syria, okay? God forbid we may be going, to battle with Russia and Iran over, our troops that remain in Syria. France and England have destroyers in the area. We have planes in the area. Who knows? People are rattling sabers. They're making statements now, challenging each other. Russia's coming out with statements. It's very, very, very dicey. And I think we're in a situation like we haven't been in since the Cold War back in the 60s when we were dealing with Khrushchev and missiles in Cuba. It's very, very tenuous, and anything could happen. And if something were to erupt on a major scale, obviously that would have an amazing negative effect on the market. Okay, another area that probably will have an effect on the market in the coming days and months and weeks will be changes in the cabinet. Gary Cohn is no longer the senior economic advisor to the president. You now have Lawrence Kudlow coming in. Now, Kudlow has a very interesting background. He's been very much involved in the market for many, many years. He's had some good predictions and he's had some bad predictions. Let's hope that he's more accurate, and let's hope that he ends up doing a good job once he comes into office now. Also, John Bolton is now going to be the national security advisor to the president. Bolton's background, some people love the guy, some people don't. He's very, very heavily behind Israel. Israel's a tremendous partner with the United States. And so many people view that, including people in Israel, as a very, very positive step. On the other hand, he's controversial. On some of the statements he's made in the past, some people think he's like a warmonger. I don't believe that's the case. But again, I don't want to take a position one way or another. We just got to wait and see. But again, these people will have an effect on the market. Overall conditions in the world certainly do have an effect on the market. It's not just financial conditions. It's peace and quiet, and whether the world is at peace or whether we're launching missiles at one another. Needless to say, our friend over in North Korea is another person we got to be concerned about. Is he going to start launching more missiles? Is he going to start provoking President Trump, or are they going to sit down and have coffee together? I don't know. It still remains to be seen. Is Putin going to get along with Trump the way Trump has mentioned? Again, remains to be seen. If they kind of put a lid on things, maybe that'll be very beneficial to the market. Too soon to know. Too soon to know. All right? All right. Now, these are all things that I think will be affecting the market in the coming months, and certainly we'll be addressing ourselves to many of them. Now, let me give you some idea of some of the other areas on the scope of this show. I expect to be, of course, discussing the stock market as we're on every week and the final hour of the week of the market, how appropriate it will be to discuss whatever issues there are that affect this week's stock market. I'm also going to be discussing with you mortgage financing, of which I'm somewhat of an expert. I'll be discussing the area of life insurance and estate planning. Again, I've had a lot of experience with that. The areas of tax planning for individuals, pension planning, individual tax planning, other types of tax planning for persons and corporations, as well as legal issues, particularly financial legal issues. And then 1 week a month, I want to do a show devoted to women's issues financially. I want to talk about all the issues that are out there that particularly affect women. And when I say that, I'm talking about divorce and death, how women are affected by each. What about investing money after a divorce or death? What about the tax situation that a woman is presented with? What about estate planning for her family or children, her relatives? What about life insurance benefits? Is she entitled to any? What about Social Security benefits? How does she claim those benefits? What about equal pay in the workplace? How is a woman entitled to that? What about piercing the corporate veil so that women can become more corporate executives? That's always been a big problem. What about sexual discrimination in the workplace? That's a big, big problem. And of course, that leads us into the current Me Too movement, which is all about sexual discrimination. And everybody, all you got to do is turn on the news every night now, and all you hear about is that issue. It's very, very important. And also, you've got other issues which will be affecting women. And anybody who wants to call up, particularly on that day, I'm going to be inviting women guests, women who have started their own companies, women executives, women who have started businesses on the internet, women who have started businesses in their own kitchen, all right, and have now become successful. What about Shark Tank? It's another show which is fascinating. We can talk about Shark Tank one day. And we'll talk about other issues affecting women, and we'll have only women callers on that particular day. That's going to be Ladies' Day, all right? I find that there's not enough financial news directed to women on financial shows. You get it on The View, you get it on some of the other women shows, but you don't get it on serious financial news shows, and I want to break the mold and do that on behalf of ladies, all right? Now, in addition, there'll be other subjects that we're going to be tackling. Options trading. We're going to be talking about cryptocurrencies, bitcoins. We're going to be talking about starting your own business, of course, trading online, e-trading, discount brokers, and various other issues of the day, and anything else of a legal, financial nature, tax nature, any of these other general subjects. I'll be here to take your calls, and if there's any call that will either take too long to answer or that we don't or are not readily prepared to answer on air, I will take your name and number, and we will get back to you. I promise you that I will respond to any call that I take on the air. And with that said, let's arrange to take a commercial break, if we will, right now.
Please welcome a new sponsor to the show. It's AMP2 TV, the first and only internet network that's truly plugged in. When you're looking for a full-service internet television production company, discover AMP2 TV, a full-service production company that can provide all streaming videos in studio or remotely. They offer web page development, and they use all the latest platforms to help make your business selling points more powerful. They can do remotes and live streaming, as well as tape productions. Let AMP2 TV handle all of your television production needs. Choose from a variety of creative TV and radio packages and see why AMP2 TV works with many major companies, including Comcast, Bravo, and Fox 29, as well as individuals and businesses of all types and sizes. To see samples of their work or to find out more, visit their website at amp2.tv. That's AMP2.tv. Or call them at 1-866-224-5422. That's 866-224-5422.
What is Debersize? With over 25 years of personal training experience and workout techniques, Deb Varsalone invites you to Debersize. Debersize comes to you from the privacy of your own home or group training facility. Debersize can meet your individual fitness needs, offering one-on-one, non-impact resistance training, post-surgical strengthening to higher-level boot camp and weight training. Debersize will meet your personal fitness goals at any age. Contact Deb at 561-307-9283. Schedule an initial consultation and get ready for a stronger, healthier you. 561-307-9283.
Okay, welcome back. All right, now let me show you a picture of our president, President Trump, and I get a kick out of what it says on the cover. It says, "Doubting the Donald. I look better if I'm worth 10 billion than 4 billion." Well, I guess you could say that about anybody. Anyway, this is the issue which Forbes giving the definitive ranking of the richest people in America. Unfortunately, I'm not on the list yet. It'd be nice. There's 3 ways I tell women you can make money in this society. Okay, you can, of course, you can inherit it. You can literally win the sperm lottery, meaning you inherit the money from somebody wealthy. Or 2, you can work hard for it. You can become a stockbroker, a real estate broker, a insurance broker, etc., or start your own company and generate a lot of money for yourself. Or 3, you can marry it, okay? Now, you can marry more in 5 minutes than you can earn in a lifetime. And the truth is that I can tell you a lot of my very wealthy friends can subscribe to that theory. And it's true that women sometimes can be married for a year or 2 and walk away with substantial. Nothing wrong with it, by the way. It's the American way. Believe me, I don't fault it. All right, I'm a lawyer. I've seen many, many, many people, go that route. And sometimes I say, what price freedom? Sometimes the guy is married for a short period of time. He's got to give his wife a lot of money, but he's happier to, get divorced and be free again. Other times, it's a lot more painful. We read about all the time about gigantic divorces, sometimes 100 million, 200 million among celebrities, very wealthy people. Of course, the ordinary person doesn't even come near that. Divorce settlements are usually much, much easier. By the way, another area that we're going to talk about, and I may have mentioned earlier, is prenuptial agreements. The advice to women about having a prenuptial before they get married. Should they have one? Shouldn't they have one? What should be in it? What should be mentioned? What shouldn't be mentioned? Should a woman have a lawyer to look at it? And I'm going to tell you she should. And, all of the other things, the pitfalls. I'm going to try to give you all kinds of financial tips and ideas, many of which you may not have even heard of before, other than on this show. I'm going to try to be as original as possible. There's too much repetition on television and radio today. I'm going to try to be something a little bit different, a little more informative, a little more entertaining based upon my background. I think I have the wherewithal and the ability to be able to impart upon you knowledge which you haven't received before. Again, remembering that knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, and applied knowledge is even greater power, okay? So if you can take that knowledge and apply it to your business or your investing situation, then you're going to do a lot better than the average person in the world. 1% of people make things happen, 4% of people, they watch things happen, and 95% of people say, what happened? They read about it in the paper the next day or in the magazine. Try to be in that 1%. Not everybody can, but if you can, or if you can strive to be, that's where you want to be. Now, I'm going to tell you about something else which my father, he should rest in peace, taught me when I was very, very young. He said to me, and he was in the life insurance business, he was a very good salesman, and he taught me the art of selling. And even as a lawyer, I learned that all of us, whether we're in real estate, in law, accounting, whether we sell furniture, we sell cars, whatever, we're all selling ourselves. We sell ourselves, and then we sell our product and our service. Now, if a client likes you and they buy you, they're going to buy your product or your service. Conversely, if they don't like you, if they don't like talking to you, if they don't like being with you, then I don't care if you got the best looking car on the market or you got the finest house on the block, they're not going to buy it from you. They're going to go to somebody else to buy. All right? So it's imperative that initially you sell yourself to whomever you're dealing with. Again, whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, a CPA, a gardener, a furniture salesman, what have you, car salesman, it doesn't matter. You're selling yourself at all times. That's critical. Now, with that said, the greatest single skill that a salesman can have is not his ability to articulate, it's not his appearance, it's not his education, it's not his knowledge even, believe it or not, it's his ability to network. How many people does he know, and how many people knows him? How many people can he call in the middle of the night and ask for a favor, and how many people are going to give him that favor, or how many people he can call during the day, how many people are going to take his phone call, how many people are going to blow him off, how many people are going to refer him to other people, because remember, every network starts with a single, main tree, and then it's got branches, and those branches have smaller branches, and that's how you develop more and more and more leads, okay? I try to tell that to salesmen. I said, if you're just going to sell your relatives and your friends, you're going to run out of suspects and prospects very quickly, all right? You've got to be able to know how to network. Now, I'm going to teach you some things today in the balance of our hour today because, let's do this. I'll tell you what, rather than going into that, and we have, time is somewhat limited, why don't we go into some phone calls, all right? The phone number to call in is 888-721-0074. Again, 888-721-0074. I'm waiting for your calls. And in the meantime, I'll just start to touch upon networking. And then when we get calls, I'll start answering the calls. Now, let me read from a book that I received many, many years ago. And it was a bestseller then. I don't know if it's still on the market now. You'll probably get it on Amazon. It's written by Harvey Mackay. It's called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. The only networking book you'll ever need. All right? Fantastic, fantastic book. This is one of the Bibles on networking. And in his very first chapter, he talks about 6 conclusions to begin on the subject of networking. And I'm going to read from them. And each one of them is a gem. And it says, number 1, talent alone will not save you in today's economy. 2, the traditional advice, more training and education will not save you either. 3, the government will not save you. Don't expect the government to bail you out with insurance or, Social Security, which is going broke, or welfare benefits or unemployment benefits. Don't rely on the government. They're not going to bail you out. The government's broke. All right? Number 4, no matter how self-reliant or no matter how self-reliant, dedicated, loyal, competent, well-educated, or well-trained you are, you need more than that to save yourself, okay? Number 5, you need a network. You need your network. every day. A network will help you deal with some of life's minor annoyances, as well as your most challenging problems. Your network can provide role models, advise you, comfort you, provide you with financial assistance, intellectual and social resources, entertainment, and a ride to work in the morning. All of those things. Without it, you'll have a hard time finding a client, making a sale, seeking a job, hiring the right employee, to say nothing of the personal stuff like locating a competent doctor, buying a house, or deciding on a nursery school for your kids. If I had to name the single characteristic shared by all the truly successful people I've met over my lifetime, I'd have to say it's the ability to create and nurture a network of contacts. Okay? And finally, I would share what I learned from a lifetime of networking. No matter how smart you are, no matter how talented you are, you can't do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. I don't even not even Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or any of these moguls has built their fortunes all by themselves. They've all had talented people around them. They've hired smart people. And, okay, all right, I have a call coming in now. I'll take it right now from a fellow named Jerry. Okay, let's take it. Okay, come on, Jerry, give me your question.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for calling, Jerry. How are you?
You're welcome. I'm watching your show on YouTube. You're doing great.
Thank you very much.
How do you enjoy being a guest?
How do I enjoy being a guest? Is that your question? Or I'm the host. I'm not the guest.
You're the host.
I'm the host.
Did you just
It's my
start the
show.
program?
It's my show.
Did you just start the program?
The show started today. First show is today. Congratulations.
Well,
You got me on my first show.
Lots of good luck to you. I'm enjoying
Thank you.
it.
Thank you very much. Very nice of you. Thank you for the well wishes. Okay. Well, that was nice. That was easy to answer. Okay. Let's move on. All right. Now, let's talk about a few other things. By the way, let's talk about the top 10 reasons why a network can be helpful, all right? And really, some of them are obvious, but some of them need explanation. And these are really, really, I can't stress enough how important they are to your success in whatever career you're in. If you build a good network, you're destined to do well. The first point is that a network replaces the weakness of the individual with the strength of a group. Meaning that if you join a group, the strength of that group will enhance your presentation. If you're a member, I don't care if you're a member of some yacht club or some society, a financial group, or a luncheon society, or the Boy Scouts, whatever group you're a member of, that group, you can go to group meetings, you can meet those people, it increases the number of people you know, increases the chances of you getting references from those people, and it increases your chances of making a stronger presentation. All in all, by the way, probably the best group to be in would be the group called the WASP Millionaires Club. Of course, not too many of us can be part of that, but there are literally millions and millions of other clubs that are out there of all backgrounds, creeds, businesses, trades, professional interests, economic interests, personal interests, gender preferences, religions, etc. And all you got to do is search them out. Now that you have the internet, in the old days, all you could do is go to the library and find these groups out. Today, you got the internet. It's it's just a finger away. Let your fingers do the walking, and you literally can find all of these groups on the internet, do some homework on what they're about, who the members are, what they do, what kind of meetings they hold, what kind of scope they do, where they hold their meetings, how do they hold their meetings, what's the purpose of their meetings, and what do they encourage. And literally, you can do so much of your homework in advance on the internet. The internet is incredible. Okay, now, and you can be instantly communicating with people without ever even leaving your house, which is beautiful. You don't have to go to a meeting at a meeting hall anymore. Okay, you can join a group and you can literally have access to experts right out of your living room or out of your bedroom. All right, the next thing is mirror, mirror on the wall, meaning that the network becomes a magic mirror that can show you how to dress really looks on before you wear it to the party, meaning that you can reflect the report that you're about to give to your company, your board of administrators, board of directors. You can bounce it off your your network group and see what kind of reply you get from them. They're going to be your sounding board. They're going to act almost like a mirror. They're going to be able to tell you, whether you're making a fool of yourself or not, or whether you're making a great presentation. Your network can help you immeasurably in this regard. They can also help you in interviewing for a job. They can help you to make a presentation. They can help you to include what kind of points that should be included in a resume. Again, these are very, very, very valuable. The number 3 point, and that is know thine enemy through thine network. Meaning, like Michael Corleone said in The Godfather, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. All right? Through a network, you get to know who your friends are and who your friends aren't. Okay? It's like being in a baseball game and stealing the other team's signs. All right? You're able to keep track of what the competition is doing. And of course, in the business world, this is invaluable. All right? Now, so there's always a place, quote, in the dugout for anyone who can pick off the other team's signs. All right, the next point is that my network can help you to expand your network, meaning that my group and the value of my network and the people that I derive in my network can help me turn you on to people in my network that you can use them in your network or help you to build your network. So a lot of young people go a long way by getting themselves adopted by an older, wiser individual. So in the animal world, the tiger cub will benefit from the older tiger's teachings. And the tiger gets a disciple in the process. And, if we go down through literature or in history, Julius Caesar had Mark Antony, Big Jim Colosimo had Al Capone, Woody Hayes had Lou Holtz, et cetera, et cetera. Henry Ford had Lee Iacocca. And literally, these are people that were mentors who taught their students. Again, another line that my dad gave me when I was very young, coming right out of law school, he said that if a son isn't a better man than his father, they're both failures. Meaning the student should know everything that the teacher had to teach him and then go beyond. And if he doesn't, then there's something wrong with the teacher and there's something wrong with the student. He hasn't learned enough or the teacher hasn't done a good enough job. That I took to my heart when I learned it from my dad. And fortunately, thank God, another 10 years or so later, I was able to support my father. He should rest in peace. And it was one of the proudest days of my life to that moment when I created my own law firm. All right, so now let's move on. What else is important? In addition to what we've just said about learning from mentors, a network can enrich your life anywhere in the world. Meaning you now with the internet, you can have a network of, let's say, stamp collectors. Stamp collectors all over the world. Or people that are, hobbyists of some kind. Or people that just like to send emails to one another. Or people that are into some kind of other occupation. Literally, you can be in touch with anybody and anybody anywhere in the world now and create a network in that particular area of endeavor or industry or occupation or avocation, and which makes networking so much more valuable than ever before. And I'll give you an example. In China, there's a term called guanxi. Guanxi is a incredibly powerful network with the Chinese. It stands for basically relationships. And there are about, I guess, 50 to 100 million people in this network, maybe more. And they control a huge amount of the wealth in China through this extended family that is related through this Chinese business world of guanxi. And literally, you can get access to it too, even if you're an American or you're from Europe, just by learning a little bit more, reading a little bit more. For instance, like in China, in Hong Kong, the Chinese New Year is celebrated January 21 to February 19th. Well, maybe that'll give you an opportunity to tap into some people from an Asian background, particularly Chinese. Maybe you can reach out to some people, Chinese business people, during that period, invite them to dinner, invite them to lunch, get to know them, and starting a business relationship or starting networking with people who are over there in Asia. Let's face it, it's a global economy now. It's no longer just in America. We're all over the world now. And those people who are profiting the most are the people that are doing business all over the world. I know I am. Okay, so now let's move on. A network can provide you with new experiences and knowledge. Obviously, in a network, there's all kinds of new things that you're going to learn and pick up, new ideas, new concepts, new interests that you're going to pick up that you've never been exposed to before. And that, of course, is also tremendously enriching, and it also will enable you to learn new skills and new ways of doing things in your own business, and learning new ways to expand your business, get into other businesses, how to invest in other companies wisely, and literally enable you to be smarter than the next guy. And of course, knowledge again is power. All right, next, we talk about networking can help you to help others. Now, helping others, of course, is one of the nicest things that one can do in this world. Frankly, it's one of the motivations for me being on this radio show. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy giving my advice to other people. I've taught at the graduate school level in a business school back in the New York vicinity some years ago. I've enjoyed writing articles, and I've enjoyed basically giving advice, which I will continue to do on this show. We're going to have to wrap momentarily. I want to thank you very, very much for listening and watching me today. We're going to have a very, very exciting show in the weeks and months to come. I hope you're going to enjoy this show as much as I'm going to enjoy presenting it to you. I know my guests are going to be very, very stimulating to you, very exciting, very interesting, and particularly they're going to be guests that you haven't heard before on other shows, which is going to make this show stand out. All right? So 3 to 4 in the afternoon, you want to be on 740 AM or 96.9 or 90 or 103.9 FM, or on Facebook on for the moment AMP2 TV Productions. Scroll to Ask Robert, or on Facebook AMP2 TV. Again, scrolling to Robert. Now, in the future, I'll be having my own Facebook page, which we'll be able to announce, and you'll be able to go to that directly. Of course, also, by the way, I'm looking for sponsors. You can go on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn at the moment at Bob Seibel at yahoo.com. And you can come on to LinkedIn and indicate an interest. We'll be in touch with you. We'd love to have you as a local or national sponsor. This show is going out nationally now, nationally syndicated in major markets across the country. So, again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening and watching Ask Robert today. It has been my pleasure sharing with you up-to-date information about the stock market and business, as well as investing, financing, real estate, and other commercial and general subjects. My guests are specifically chosen by me to provide sharp thoughts and ideas on the various subjects affecting the economy in a unique and informative manner. I enjoy answering your calls, and you can reach me at 561-483-2334 or by email at bobseibel, BOBSEIBEL at yahoo.com. Remember, knowledge is power. Dare to be great, because so few people make the effort. This has been Robert Seibel. I look forward to speaking to you again next week. Have a great week.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
If you have investments and are tired of watching your money disappear when the market goes down, then feel you're not making enough when it goes back up, do something.